Hello, everybody. Welcome to MusicInWideScreen at ProgRock.com. I'm here with Mikko. I believe, is that how you pronounce your name? Mikko?
Mikko. Yeah, Mikko.
Mikko. Okay. And we're here talking about the new album. I'm very excited. It kind of just showed up recently. I didn't even have any forewarning it was coming out, but so very excited to see that in my inbox 2 weeks ago. And my wife and I are big fans. A little inside story that George Roldan from Rostos called us, and he said we got room for one more band, and he asked Raina, I was like, what do you think? Who do you think the last band should be? This band, I can't remember who it was, or Von Hertzen Brothers. And Raina said Von Hertzen Brothers immediately, and we're love the albums that you came out in between your two Rosfest. I think you played in about 2007 or so, and then again in 2019.
Yeah, I think it was 2008 to be honest.
Okay, yeah,
in somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Right, exactly, and
Gettysburg,
right. Yeah. And you came out with this great run of albums between that time with it was Approach and The War is Over. I'm trying to think of all these songs that we just absolutely loved after you had played. And it was great to see you there. We were for Erwin Center for that. And this album, again, is another amazing album. I think maybe a little bit mellower. Would you think that? Or maybe do I just remember your heavier songs from the previous albums?
No, you're absolutely right. It was, I think it was like more of a, while making this album, we really felt like we've done quite a bit of riff rock songs lately, and this time around we felt like doing something different energy wise, so we are not like so pushy and like aggressive in our like delivering and the music. So it's definitely more kind of mellow and sitting and set back rather than like going forward.
Right. There's a couple tracks, like I think Anil, Anil is how it's spelled here, and Elbowed and stuff. It seemed a little bit mellower. The front half is still kind of rocking a bit. And you mentioned on stage at Rosfest that you had a song that got some airplay. You were like, of all songs to actually break through, it was this song. What song was that? Does that story ring? Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing was that when we kind of broke through here in Finland, it was back in 2006.
Okay, the first album, Approach?
Yes, that was the second album, actually.
Oh, okay.
The first one was Experience from
2001. That's right. Right.
But yeah, so the funny thing with the Let Thy Will Be Done, which was the kind of like the song that broke us through, was that it was in a very weird time signature for a Westerner. It's a 7/8 time signature, and we never thought that it would kind of make such an impact. So that was very interesting for us to see that, okay, we put out this weird song and, we play it on national TV and we get like a local Grammy award for it. And,
nice.
It was really weird.
That's great. And of course you have a tour, a finished tour starting up in end of March here and then going all through April. And so your Finnish friends will be able to see you just about anywhere they live. They should actually probably see multiple shows. I think you got a dozen just in your country.
We do tour quite a bit here because it's there's demand and people want to come and see us play, and but after that, like in May, we're also flying over to the UK and playing like a tour there. In May, and then summer shows, and then we are looking into doing a little bit Central European dates later on this year. So
I think I saw 2 shows already, maybe 2 festivals towards the end of the year, fall.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely going to Holland, to play a few gigs, and then we have a few shows that haven't been
announced,
put out yet for sale, but they're going to be in we have a Finnish tour in October, because this is where we make our living from, touring Finland and playing here, and also, but yeah, there's a good chance that we can actually tour a little bit more towards the end of the year. It has been very uncertain with the tours here
Right.
because of the pandemic, so.
Right.
But now it seems like even like our friends are now touring the US, and so it's a little bit opening up, even for the Finnish bands.
Yeah, basically, with the vaccines pretty much all over the place,
Yeah,
it seems like people are going ahead and getting out there again, because
yeah,
everybody feels safe, whether either they haven't taken the vaccine for whatever reason and they feel safe,
yeah.
or they've taken the vaccine and then they feel safe. So so that's good. And how's have you guys been muddling through the not being able to do any concerts the last 2 years? You guys doing okay?
Well, the thing was that we played our last gig of War is Over in Holland in maybe September 2019, and then
Hmm.
we knew that we would have like a break anyway,
Hmm.
writing new songs and going into the studio and stuff. But yeah, so this album that came out just this week,
Hmm.
last week, it was supposed to come out already in 2020 spring. So it's like 1.5 year lagging behind the
Oh
actual
yeah.
schedule that we had. But it kind of gave us more time to tweak the songs and just like
Hmm.
take our time with kind of the production side of things and trying things out, mixing it a couple of times, with different mixing engineers, so that we kind of like knew that, okay, we have turned every stone and now it's as good as we can possibly get it to be. So in that way, the time that we spent on it, was good for the
Hmm.
album, but also like it's been a while since. Luckily, we had our 20th anniversary shows. We had maybe 10 shows now in last autumn, so
Okay.
that was good because then we could kind of like the album was already done and it was ready to go, and we could tour a little bit in between. So
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the sound and stuff. It sounds great, especially the softer passages in this in the on the album. And you've always sounded great. For me, the hook for me has always been the way you guys harmonize. You harmonize in only way in a way only brothers can harmonize. It seems like.
yeah,
um it was like when I first heard you, I'm like, oh, they really are brothers, because
yeah,
I could tell by the harmonizing. And I think that I first heard Approach, and probably back right before you were announced on for Rozfest. I'm like, oh, holy cow, this is a great find for Rozfest. And when then Love Remains the Same came out, and Stars Align and Nine Lives and New Day Rising, I'm like, wow, that's just an amazing run of songs there. And then on this album, I've got a couple of favorites of my own. What do you have a favorite song or two from this new album?
I think it's a little bit too early to say.
Yeah.
I mean, there are like I personally feel that there are very strong, the 11 songs that we picked for this album, they are
Mhm.
very strong, all of them. But then there are like highlight moments there, like
Yeah.
Peace Patrol sax solo is
Yeah. Yeah.
unreal. And then I love Northern Lights as a song. It's just so cool. And then All of
Yeah.
a Sudden You're Gone is a great composition.
Right.
And so there's a lot of like really outstanding songs, I feel, even though I say so. I can say this because it's my brother's song.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never, but then, yeah, I really feel that this is kind of like mature, strong
Hmm.
album from us, So, and I like the fact that it's quite different from like the two previous ones, which were like New Day Rising and War is Over,
Yeah.
which were like very kind of like forward moving rocky albums.
Right. Right. No, it's definitely great. I was curious because I'm just kind of ignorant. There's a song, the second to last song. I'm going to call it Soderskar. Yeah.
Söderska, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And is that about a lighthouse? That's the only
That,
reason I know that word. Okay.
exactly, exactly. That's kind of like an islet with just like 30 kilometers out from Helsinki to the sea,
Yeah.
and a small islet with a lighthouse. And that's where my brother actually went to write this song. So it really like my big brother he used his time when we had like the writing period for this album.
Hmm.
He used his time, and he has a canoe, and he took his electric guitar because the acoustic one didn't fit inside the canoe. So he took his electric guitar and he went paddling, and he went
Oh,
into these very remote places, and he wrote the songs there. And that's maybe one of the reasons that his songs are very kind of like folky and mellow and stuff,
hmm.
because when you're sitting alone on a rock, like
Yeah,
outside in the next, and the seas like everywhere, you don't feel like writing anything like a pompous rock song. You feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
a little bit like you know taking it easy with your guitar. And that's how kind of like the surroundings of where you do stuff can actually
Right.
seep into the music as well.
Right, right. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine a Flowers and Rust type of track while he's out in a canoe somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely would think like this. Is it Anil, Anil's track? Yeah,
Anil has been done there as well somewhere. I
yeah,
don't know
I
where,
could
but
imagine.
true, true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great, great. So, I was looking at the press release. It looks like that there's the vinyl. Is there a red disc and a blue disc, or is there two
Yeah.
options of what you can get? Oh, there's a red
Oh,
and a
red
blue.
and blue. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay, which makes sense for the name of the album, Red
yeah.
Alert in a Blue Forest. That's kind of interesting. Is there a story behind the name of the album?
Yeah, I mean, when we were writing this song, this album, the lyrics for this album, we started like kind of like realizing that there's a lot of the theme wise, it has a lot to do with nature. And that was maybe because many of the songs were written in nature. And
Mhm.
then like the forest idea came from there, and the blue moment just before it gets dark,
Mhm.
how like everything gets quiet, and all the birds and everything gets quiet, and it's so peaceful. So blue forest here is actually um, a word for peace. And then red alert is kind of like representing that the peace that we are carrying is somehow disturbed and in an disharmonic state,
Mhm.
and
Right.
and then everything started to kind of like wrap itself around this whole theme of like, okay, maybe how are we dealing with the loss that we're seeing now during the pandemic all around us. People are losing their relatives, and we are losing our security,
Mhm.
and we're losing somehow the grip to life, because we don't know what's happening next. And it's all panic, and it's red alert, and it's like,
Mhm.
how can we cope with this new situation? And then so that's kind of like red alert in the blue forest is also like very kind of, it kind of like, it's the same as we would call the album that, the harmony is gone in our piece or whatever,
Mhm.
so that's kind of what it means. And then the blue forest is somehow also relating to like our upbringing, at the
Mhm.
cottage in the countryside, and how we feel like,
Right.
somehow the lushness and the variety of species have been decreasing, and we are
Mhm.
kind of like facing extinction in many ways. And why are we doing this to ourselves? And so there's a lot of like also like environmental thoughts behind
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, that's been a very that's been a subject matter I'm hearing a lot in progressive rock. There's a lot of certainly musicians all over the world worried about the situation of the planet here. So we all appreciate that part of it as well. When I first heard this album, I was really impressed with the when I really started noticing how much care went into the recording of it. It was when I heard All of a Sudden You're Gone. I just really enjoy that track. And it seems like it has a pretty big ending and lots of instrumentation and things like of that nature.
Yeah.
Um, did that song take longer than the others? I was just curious because it's just like, wow, this is really seems great on so many levels, this track.
Yeah. I mean, the songs are kind of like dictating, how the process goes. And for example, in All of a Sudden You're Gone, there was a need for an orchestral,
Mhm.
part at the end. So So there are strings there, and there is like a cello there, and there is you know, the horns are there. So there's a lot of like a lot of instrumentation that we wanted to enrich, you know, the song. And also we felt like because the pandemic was what it was, and we were kind of like doing our stuff very kind of social distancing from each other and like that, then it was very kind of like, in a way, even healing to get people to come and play on our album, you know, and to bring their input. So it was so nice to have like other musicians bring their talent, you know, on this album. So we have loads of like people contributing to this album, and it's there are many songs that we used horns on, and then there's like this even like church organs that we actually went to the church and we mic'd the organs, and you know, like we actually did the work, and it was kind of refreshing to do it like that rather than just like playing with samples that you get from a sample library and, you know, do it yourself in your work or whatever. So we did a lot of that, and that was kind of like nice because it also brought that feeling of somehow togetherness and like a bigger team than just the three of us, you know, brothers. That we, of course, we do mainly all the work when it comes to this band, but then it's so nice to get like people to come and feature, you know, on the album if we know that they have some talent that we don't really have. And then, you know, so in Promise, for example, there's a guy playing this very kind of folklorish, you know, string instrument called jouhikko that you don't even have like a you know, English name to it because it's so Finnish and so Swedish. There are just like, you know, so it's these traditional instruments that we used. You know, it's nice to have that, you know, also on the album because it's something very different that we haven't done before. So.
Right. Oh, it's really great. How's your audience when you play in Finland? Is it kind of like America where it's mostly male and older, or you got, that's what I figured, right?
No, it's very different. It's you know, the thing is like, you know, we have a long career here, so we've had like, I don't know, top 5 albums in Finland. So it's very, you know, our public is very kind of like heterogenic in a way that there are a lot of women there, and I would say that it's mainly women, you know, 60% women, and then there's like age group is from 18 to 75, so it's like it's really like it's really broad. And then but when we started like going out from Finland, it was Prog magazine in the UK who kind of like first featured us and really liked the band, and thus we kind of ended up having that audience all around the world, which is like mainly people who are or were into like 70s prog and stuff like that. And then a little bit with the last 2 albums, we also got the classic rock people to pay attention.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's still outside of Finland, it's mainly male audience, which is of course, you know, it just depends on the medias that you're on, and you know what kind of like papers people read and all that stuff. So
it does speak to the fact that your music as well as the genre, I think, would appeal to many more people all over the world. Just that, you know, there's not everybody's exposed to it. It's just a matter of getting the word out. Because I mean, when you think about your songs, I mean, these are not. This is, I call it gateway prog, where you don't need to. When I think about, you know, some of my favorite songs, New Day Rising and Love Burns and all these things, you don't need to. You know, you don't need to count to know the time signatures or hear the song multiple times. These things are right there, ready to be liked the first time you hear it. You know what I'm saying?
It's not that like a lot of the prog scene is kind of like very technical, and it's leaning to that kind of like weirdness of time signatures and stuff. And in our case, it's just like if there's a riff that goes into 7, okay, let it be like that. But it has never really been a point for us to kind of show off our like skills and, you know, like whatever. there is a technical abilities in this band, but it's all about the song and the melody and the mood of the song. So that sometimes is weird, and sometimes it's very simple and straightforward. You know.
Right, right. I mean, I'm sure nobody, really realized that your first hit was in 7/8, right? Same with, when
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel does it with I'm trying to think of song. Plenty of hits that are in 7/8. But
Yeah.
you're not counting it out. I'm sure, and Rush
Yeah.
is exactly the same way. It's
Yeah.
odd time signatures that
Yeah.
don't really, you don't even notice they're odd time signatures. So I think we've covered a lot here. I'm very excited for this new album. I'm excited for the people to hear it. I'll be interested to see how it works out live. I would say that mellower tracks are like could be a little bit different for your fan base, which is kind of why I asked if it's all male. I think that I'm excited to hear about how the concerts go. There's certainly going to be plenty of them, and I'm sure there'll be stuff from your whole discography at those shows.
Yeah.
And people will really enjoy being out and about. I even have a Finnish friend that came there from Mexico, started busking, and was playing your songs in Metallica around the city. So he's
That's
like,
cool.
Metallica is a moneymaker. Now he's all integrated. He's married and loves Finland. I met him on a 16-hour layover to Germany. So I love your country, and I hope to actually. When I saw the schedule, I'm like, the first thing I did is like, can I make it to any of these shows? And I that was not going to be in the cards for me this time. But I hope that everybody in Finland and around Europe gets to see you. And it sounds like you're certainly making it possible for everybody to see you. Good luck with this album. And
thank you so much.
And we hope that continued success is in your
let's hope
future.
that we can get over to the US to play at some point as well, some festival or the other. So that would be cool.